Okay. So what I'm talking about today is just gluten-free baking, because I try to be gluten-free. So there's a lot of trepidation when you're cooking with gluten-free flours. A lot of times things end up thicker or the texture's off, so a lot of people just give up on gluten-free cooking. But I made a list of my favorite flours that I use. Hold on, let me just... Okay, so first I'm going to talk about the 5 flours that I use. One of them is nut flour, so that's like almond flour, pistachio, hazelnut, all those kind of flours. I stick with almond, it's more readily available. And I was telling them before you guys came, you don't have to go to like a specialty store, you don't have to go to Trader Joe's, you don't have to go to like a more expensive store. These can be found at Smith's, Walmart, Albertsons, and I would honestly check their prices first before going to somewhere like Trader Joe's, because they're gonna charge you double. So almond flour is a good one to use. It's good to add for taste, and then it's a good source of protein too, because it's almonds.
Are there any cookbooks or anything that you recommend for people who are not great cooks like me?
Yes. So honestly, online is your best source. There's this girl. I think her website's called glutenfreegirl.com.
Okay.
And she's a good one who has a lot of recipes, but she's also someone who says make a combination yourself, and then that way you can kind of play around with it. So I'm going to talk more about that too in a second.
Cool. Okay.
The next one's potato starch. I use potato starch a lot. Not potato flour, but potato starch. There's a difference. Potato starch is the starch taken out of a potato, where potato flour is just going to make something taste like a potato. So you're going to turn it into like a mashed potato. So not flour, but starch. Potato starch is really good if you're making like a gravy, if you're making a soup, if you want it to be a creamier soup. It's good for thickening and consistency and texture. The next thing is rice flour. I use rice flour a whole lot. So there's different kinds of rice flour. There's brown rice flour and white rice flour, but honestly, a lot of pre-combined mixes won't say which one they're using, and it doesn't really matter though. Both of them will be a good consistency for thickening a food. So if you want like a cobbler or something more dense, use a rice flour. Okay, so rice flour is a good filler if you're looking just to add more flour. Like I said, it makes things dense, so be careful. I wouldn't really use it as the main component in biscuits unless you want to harm someone with them. If you want to throw it at the wall and make a hole, then use a lot of rice flour in your biscuits. The next thing is bean flour. People don't realize that bean flour it's chickpea or garbanzo beans. So bean flour is something good to use also for sauces, puddings, custards. It's a good thickening kind of agent, but it's really good for gravies and soups.
And all of this you can get at Walmart?
No, not all of these you can get at Walmart. You can find these in pre-made mixes, which I'm going to talk about next. Okay. Let me just go over one other thing, which is tapioca flour / starch. It's actually the same thing. Sometimes they just label it different. But it's the same thing. Tapioca is tapioca starch / flour. So that's another really good filler to add in if you're trying to make something lighter. So I know it sounds really complicated because you have to kind of mix these flours in a specific way to get the texture you're looking for. So anytime you're gluten-free cooking, think about what the texture of what you're wanting to make. Is it a cornbread? Is it a custard? What are you making? Does it need to be lighter? Does it need to be denser? And that's where you, in the back of your mind, decide the ratio on what flour to use. Mm-hmm. Where most people haven't maybe played around with gluten-free flour as much as me, I suggest for the newbies to use one of the pre-made mixes. So there's all these new pre-made mixes. You can get these Walmart, Albertsons, Smith's. Okay. They're a lot cheaper at those stores. You can go to Trader Joe's if you want to and spend an extra $10, but you don't have to. So the ones that I love are Pillsbury, Red Mill. Red Mill's a little bit more expensive, but Pillsbury, Bisquick, King Arthur, and Betty Crocker all make tons of new gluten-free mixes. And these pre-mixes have different combinations of flour. So what I would do is I would look at your ingredients, which you should always look at your ingredients list on anything you're using to see if it has things that you're wanting in it. Ingredients list, the first ingredient is going to be the most, and then so on and so forth. So if the first ingredient is rice flour, it's got mainly rice flour in it, and then it goes down the line. So look at the ingredients on the back, and that will tell you what kind of flour it's going to be. Pillsbury is one who I just used this morning because I made some gluten-free biscuits and gravy. And lactose-free. They're still really good. But because I only had my Pillsbury premix, I had to cut it with some other flours because it's predominantly rice flour. And again, with the biscuits, you don't want to like make a really dense, thick biscuit. So anyways, look at the back of the mixes. I always buy extra things to cut things with. So if I buy a premix, I'll buy almond flour as well and just kind of cut it if I'm trying to make something thinner or lighter. But Bisquick is a really good brand if you want something that's already pre-made and you just add water to, and you're looking for pancakes or what have you. Betty Crocker makes a really, really good chocolate cake. It's delicious. We just made it a couple months ago. So there's a lot of premixes. Like if you don't want to kind of fool around with the different combinations, just try the pre-made mixes, and it's still very trial and error. You have to kind of practice.
I have made a few things in baking that were gluten-free, and my question to you is, like, I know there's guar gum and all these things to give you.
There's different binding agents.
Okay, we're going there.
So binding agents. Glad you brought that up. So xanthan gum. Yes, xanthan gum is one that a lot of times they already add to a premix. Sometimes they don't though. Pillsbury, it says on the front and on the ingredients list, it has xanthan gum in it. But if you're looking to make it even more binding, that's something that's an additive to things like toothpaste. I mean, its job is to bind. You can buy little packets of that in the baking section. Use it very sparingly. You don't have to add a lot of that. But something else you can use is baking soda, baking powder if you're wanting things to rise.
But doesn't the xanthan gum give you a chew, a little, like, instead of that crunchy?
Right, because it's thickening. So if you don't want to add that much for the binding agent, add more rice flour.
Is that the best thing to make a cookie chewy though, in your experience?
Yeah, I would do.
I wasn't overly impressed. That's why I'm asking, like, is there something better?
Honestly, that's the best one, but look at what mix did you use.
Okay.
Because it probably wasn't the best ratio for a cookie.
And I didn't use a mix. I did a little of this flour, a little of that, I think some rice flour and something else.
Right, which is honestly, I think, the best way to go, but they
were still crispy as